And this is what most people talk about as, or call the ex gratia. What is your view? What is your take on this public debate on ex gratia? Thank you. Which affects your office and the office of other justices of the Superior Court.
I think that consistently the Association of Magistrates and Judges have responded to the question of ex gratia for judges and made it very clear that judges don't receive ex gratia. But you are right that this is an entrenched provision and it can only be changed by very elaborate procedures.
Your CV, hobbies, watching movies, obviously Kumawood, and I'm sure you like Kumawood. Reading, writing, and evangelism. Evangelism. Evangelism.
What is Kumawood?
What is evangelism and what do you do? Do you have time to go out to preach the word of God with this very difficult duty as a Justice of the Supreme Court and now the Chief Justice nominee? Thank you very much and congratulations.
Evangelism is informing anyone that salvation lies in no other person than the Lord Jesus Christ, and that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God.
Amen.
I hope that anybody listening now will know that John 3:16 that for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Thank you.
Hello, the comment at the table is that John 3:16 means something else to other people.
In fact, to us, John 3:16 or Napo. Napo.
Yes.
If you are given the nod, what steps would you take to erase some of those perceptions, particularly the one that borders on bias when the court is seized with the so-called political cases?
On the issue of corruption within the judiciary, I think that from my experience, I have come to understand how these perceptions abound. So they don't know that you are unbribable. So there's a whole market, we call it judicial predators. There's a whole predatory group around our function. And that is something that we constantly try to address in our study of ethics. This is something I would really love to tell Ghanaians, that for every 10 people who tell you, give me money for a judge, you can be sure that 9 likely is going into that person's pocket and not to a judge. So please, don't give money to people to take to judges, because it's their own market.
Now, what is your judicial philosophy when it comes to constitutional interpretation?
I think that generally, when you look at the theories around judicial philosophy, I can describe myself as a textualist. I'm always interested in the context, because I'm interested in the text, I'm interested in the context. And that's what I try to do in every work. What did the law say? And what is the current context? What are the facts of this particular matter?
Would you advise our friends on the other side who seem unhappy at the James Kwachi case?
Honorable, can you reframe your question, please? She has no business advising any side. Please.
Would
if you want to ask a question on the law,
okay,
please do.
We have very robust systems for. Are you listening, sir? We have.
To it, it's the motto of Wesley Girls High School. And she's an old girl and she's my senior. Although I didn't meet her in Wesley Girls anyway, much younger. Your Ladyship, on that note, I wish you well and hope that as the Chief Justice, if approved, your era of leadership will be different, will be innovative. You will speak true and right the wrongs, and have impactful interventions that I believe you know, with all your experience in the judiciary, you know are very necessary to be able to deliver justice in the system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. All your words have been taken to heart.
Honorable Suhini.
I can understand where you are coming from. It's a favorite line I use when I am teaching on certain vision, mission, and goals, which is one of the subjects I teach. But in the context of law, law is textual, and our duty is to interpret, construe it, apply it. That's why I said earlier that when I'm in court, I have my legal head on. When I'm at home, I have my faith head on. But I never lose my Christianity in both arenas.
So there's no case
Thank
where
you very much.
where
Yes, Honorable John Kuma.
Ay, chairman.
No, I want to give him a quote.
Oh, to him?
Yes.
Okay, before. Okay, he says you can't take the quote. So it's fine.
If I'm allowed, then we can engage. Mr. Chairman, if I'm allowed, we can continue to engage. But if I've been ruled out, then she cannot no longer be making references to me.
She answered your questions.
Your Ladyship, you made reference to judicial predators and indicated that in most cases where the activities of judicial predators had been encountered, it is very likely that 9 out of 10 of proceeds from the activities of judicial predators may end up with the judicial predators, and only 1 may end up with judges. But do you agree that that may indicate 10% prevalence rate of the canker? Are you concerned about that 10%? And what steps would you take when your nomination is confirmed as Chief Justice of the Republic to address that supposedly or potential 10% prevalence and to address the activities of judicial predators? Thank you.
Yes, I'm concerned about the 10% because we ought not to have any such situation.
Ghana, people are ordinary until they become Supreme Court judges, and they said, look, you can't say that about Supreme Court judges. What?
Honorable Suhini, please.
Okay, let me say it this way. I see ordinary people I know as lawyers, and the day they become Supreme Court judges, it's as if they are completely different human beings that must be treated. I'm saying, Chairman, is she actually the chairman currently? Then why don't you just allow me to make?
Can I have some order here?
Honorable Member, Honorable Chair, citizenship is a matter of law. Nationality is a matter of law. Certain jurisdictions, being born in that place makes you a citizen of that country. In our country, being born in Ghana doesn't make you a citizen of Ghana. It is your relationship with your mother. It is your mother's identity, your father's identity. It is your lineage that determines your citizenship. So, that form records, that form is actually an international requirement. We must know where everybody is born. That form assists to know your antecedents. But beyond that, your nationality is derived from the information on that form. It is not the evidence of your nationality. It is the beginning of appreciating how your nationality must be determined. It's an originating process.
So if I hold a birth certificate duly issued by a state institution in Ghana, Registrar of Births and Deaths, and it states nationality Ghanaian, are you saying that that is not enough proof of the nationality of the bearer of that certificate?
May I answer you this way? If you had an English person come and live in Ghana and have a baby in Ghana, that person would have a birth certificate. But that person's record of the parents on that birth certificate would indicate that they are not Ghanaian. So the certificate is a record of where he was born. It is not an indication of the citizenship.
I've already said that in the generation of the certificate, I quoted on birth registration form A, part B, particulars of mother, because if your mother is a Ghanaian, a child from that mother can claim.
Honorable member, from the birth certificate, if your mother is Ghanaian, if your father is Ghanaian, then we can conclude that you are Ghanaian. But from that certificate, if your mother is not Ghanaian, your father is not Ghanaian, that certificate is a record that you are not a Ghanaian. So it is a record that allows us to, I am doing legal deduction. I don't know how else to express myself.
So can I use a birth certificate issued by the births and deaths in this country that says I'm a Ghanaian? Can I use it to prove my nationality as a Ghanaian?
The birth certificate will never tell you that you are Ghanaian. The birth certificate records where you were born and the nationality of your parents.
So the information on that certificate that says that my mother is a Ghanaian, my father is a Ghanaian, would that be sufficient to prove my nationality as a Ghanaian?
Will be sufficient to arrive at the conclusion that you are Ghanaian. It's the beginning point.
Karen, your ladyship, can a Ghanaian passport holder use a Ghanaian passport as proof of being a Ghanaian?
I believe so. Because before you arrive at the passport, all your antecedents, such as a birth certificate, would have been evaluated.
By your, I'm saying it in a very respectful way. By your age, I don't know where my birth certificate is today. By your age, it is more likely that if you are asked to prove your nationality, you might produce your passport rather than birth certificate. Is that the case?
I have my birth certificate.
Okay, what Mr. Speaker, once she offered that she's got it, can she produce it to be added? Oh yes, to be added to the document. Yes, Mr. Speaker. I did not ask for it. She volunteered it, so if she can add it to the document we are requesting.
Let's proceed with your further questions, please.
I remember sitting on the e-levy matter, but that was last year. That matter is not concluded.
This country relating to removal of taxes on menstrual product. I want to know your views on that.
I believe the relevant ages for females who are who are in that biological state commences from somewhere around 10, 11 years up to 50 years. Now, if you're dealing with products for school-age children, I think they should be tax-free. But if you're dealing with products for working women, I don't think they should be tax-free.
Well, it's your view, so I don't really want to go in. I just wanted to know your views. So that there is some perception out there, that the Ghana's judiciary, the image is going down. It is not as we have been aware of, because you know you hold the state together regardless. Have you come across some of these views?
I know that in many circles, you hear very high reviews of Ghana's judiciary. And as I've said, it's a human institution. So we have our faults, we have our strengths.
I think if you are fortunate enough to occupy the high office of a Chief Justice, one thing that you should consider working on will be the image of the very noble institution of the judiciary.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you for contributing that thought.
My Lord, Esaaba Sackey Torkornoo, I have a report before me which makes something I've heard other lawyers say. The report says she seemed to be strict and not approachable. Not approachable is interesting to me. Being strict, I agree with you. If you're going to be a good leader, you have to be firm and strict on the rules. But not approachable. Is it a fair reflection of you?
I really don't think so. Because, as I said, I've led the e-justice team, and that involves a lot of people. I work with them. I've been supervising judge of the commercial court for many years. That is a teamwork with all the judges of the commercial court and all the staff of the commercial court. I have worked as chief editor of the AMJG bench for 10 years and more. So I think I've worked with so many different teams. Maybe what is peculiar about me is that if I have no business in a place, I don't go there. And usually when I'm walking around, I keep my head down because, contrary to what people may imagine, I'm a bit shy. So, if that is what has been translated as not approachable, maybe I have to start looking up some more.
Very well. I'm also interested in another part, that she is a woman preacher at the International Central Gospel Church, ICGC, Calvary Temple at Sekumono. Now, the reason I'm worried about that is that, yes, in this society, everybody seems to think that if he has access to you, he must seek to influence what you do or ask you for a favor. How will being a preacher in a church affect your work as a Chief Justice should Parliament approve you?
Well, I'm a lay minister, and I'm not a full-time pastor in the church. But I have been in the same church. I was in that church before I joined the High Court. And I've been in the judiciary for almost 20 years. And I don't think that anybody has ever attempted to compromise my integrity. Maybe that's what they mean by not being approachable. I suspect that is what it is.
Let me bring you back to the issue of death penalty. Do you find anything wrong with the existing law on death penalty?
No, I expressed my sentiment as an individual that I thought it's very final. I didn't express my thinking as a judge.
Should a judgment be very firmly and fairly concluded that the person has committed murder, not just killing, murder, intentional? Would it be unfair to execute that person in satisfaction of the law?
Your question is about executing. It's not about sentencing. I'd like
Very well. Very well. Is it because today what even I hear is that
because our role is limited to sentencing.
Very well.
The execution part is not part of our work.
Is there anything wrong with sentencing such a person to death as required by law?
Sentencing is always guided by law. And so long as the law says it, I cannot dispute it.
Don't you think that your lay position, your preacherhood is influencing, or your Christianity, so to speak, is influencing your perception of the